How to Build a Kitchen for Cheap by DannysCam. Anyway, so I've done some prep. I got my underlayment down so I can do vinyl flooring. Basically, some plywoods have a glue in them that reacts with the vinyl, and if you glue it directly down, it can turn it blue. I've seen this once, and they make a special underlayment. It's about $11 a sheet, and you have to put that down first, and it doesn't react with the chemicals in the linoleum. Yeah, so I got that laid. I got my seam, my joints mudded that were, you know, a little bigger of a gap with Henry's floor leveler. Got a bottle of it somewhere. Yep, patch and level. I recommend that. So next what we're going to do is we're going to drag this linoleum out, roll it out, and I have to do a seam over around that window, and I'll show you guys how to do that. But let's talk about this area. I've already done my electrical in the walls. I figured out where the cabinets would be. I got cabinets for $25 a piece. They're used cabinets. A cabinet builder, actually, they take the old ones and they sell them on Craigslist, and I'm able to get them. So what would normally be a $160 base cabinet, I got for like 25 bucks. So yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to lay this linoleum out, and I want to at least get this linoleum laid today, and the glues to start drying, and the seam sealer to start drying, and then come in here tomorrow and we can start working on the plumbing and the cabinet installation. I still haven't ran plumbing to where the sink's going to be, and I'll show you guys how to do that. But this is how to build a kitchen from scratch, pretty much cheap. I don't think it should cost me too much, over $1,000 really. We'll see. I'll keep a total for you guys. Alright, I've done my first cut, and as you can see there's ripples, and this is because the linoleum has spent most of its life in a roll, probably all of its life. And because of that, there are ripples in it, and so you need to let it rest. Good the seam, and we're going to do our seam right here underneath this window, and that's where I got scrap linoleum over there for the seam. Yep. And the reason why I chose this linoleum is it had a pattern. The squares are the same size, so I can flip over the end piece and use it here without a problem. All right, so I've cut around the edges. I used this metal guide to make a somewhat clean cut. This is felt backed vinyl. Not my favorite to work with. I like foam backed better. I did foam backed in the laundry room. Turned out great. The difference is there's less flex with felt backed. If it gets a bend in it, it's gonna crinkle. And like even here, this is a piece of scrap, and you can see where it just gently bent. It's paper back basically. And yeah, so it's not as good. But the reason why I chose this is because the grout lines are clear, and that's where I'm going to do my seam. So this is the piece I'm going to use for my seam, and as you can see I went ahead and cut it 1 inch over from the grout line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up both pieces and cut them together, cut the grout lines together. I'll probably staple on the corners or something so nothing moves. Let's play where the seam is. It's over here. What I did was I overlapped it, and I took my blade with a brand new blade and just cut both sheets together. And the grout lines are slightly off because they askew a little bit, but for the most part they're lined up. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our seam sealer and put a small bead on both sides, and then push it down and then roll it together with a wooden dowel. Alright guys, you can barely see the seam. Looks really good. Luckily it starts to get a little wonky down here, but the cabinets will cover that. So tomorrow I'll come back and I'm going to roll it back after this is glued to right about here, not too close to the seam, and I'm going to start spreading my glue out. And of course I have 2 air vents in here I got to cut out too. But after that it'll be relatively good. I just want to let that glue set up, and then I'll roll it all the way back to there. And yeah, the seam sealer is actually clear, so if you get it on top it's not a major deal. Alright, it's the next day. My seam has dried perfectly. There's no more ripples in the floor. It's time to glue the main area. And so they sell a cheapy little trowel. It's a one-time use, although I can wash them out and use it again. And this side is a smaller crevices, and that's for going on top of existing linoleum, and this one's for your subfloor. We'll be using the subfloor one. All right, so glues. This is a felt-backed linoleum, and you can use this felt-backed sheet vinyl adhesive, which will work great. You can also use general use multi-floor adhesive, and I will probably be using both. I'm gonna start with the felt back stuff, and I still got some leftover of the general. All right, here's what I'm doing. I'm just spreading out the glues carefully and getting out any big lumps like that one right there. I'll have to spread out again and working it to the edge. And I'm probably gonna run out of glue. I'm getting close, but I'm rolling it carefully. All right, the flooring is dry. The glue is, and we're good to go. I had to come back and glue a little bit more because I ran out of glue, but everything's glued and perfect, no ripples.